Convictions can sometimes feel like the closing of a chapter, the end of a tumultuous journey through the corridors of justice. Yet for some, it's merely the beginning of another arduous path, a path of appeals, reviews, and relentless pursuit of truth. Pedro Bravo, at the tender age of 18, was sentenced to the heaviest punishment the justice system can bestow upon an individual: life in prison without the possibility of parole. A young life tethered to the shadows of a jail cell, seemingly forever. But the ink of justice is never truly dry. For over a decade, Bravo embarked on an exhaustive journey through the complex web of the US judicial system. From direct appeals to circuit court reviews, from the appellate court's doors to the chambers of federal justice. Each step, each appeal, echoing his quest to challenge, to question, and to overturn his conviction. And just when the world thought they'd heard the last of Pedro Bravo's legal battles, Valentine's Day of 2023 brought with it a twist that few could have anticipated. A motion of newly discovered evidence was filed, hinting at revelations that could potentially upend the very foundations of his conviction. Today, we'll dive deep into this sea of appeals, retracing Pedro's journey over the years and unearthing the significance of this latest motion. Hold tight as we navigate through the intricate layers of law, hope, despair, and the never-ending search for justice. To fully grasp the journey of Pedro Bravo, it's imperative to understand the intricate process of appeals. So, what exactly is an appeal? At its core, an appeal is not a redo of a trial. It's a procedure by which a higher court reviews the decision of a lower court. It seeks to ensure that justice isn't just done, but is also seen to be done. Florida's judicial hierarchy is like a multi-tiered tower of justice. At its base, we have circuit courts for each county. It's here that the journey of a defendant usually begins with a trial. Should a defendant disagree with a decision at the circuit court level, they can appeal it to one of the 5 corresponding district courts. But the journey doesn't necessarily end there. In certain situations, a defendant can even challenge a district court's decision at the very apex, the Florida Supreme Court, but only if the district court renders an appropriate, articulate opinion. Parallel to this state structure, we have the federal courts. Beginning at the federal district courts, divided into North, Middle, and Southern, an appeal from them can ascend to the 11th Circuit, and ultimately it might find its way to the hallowed halls of the United States Supreme Court. Direct appeals in Florida, post-conviction, are rather streamlined. They're tightly bound by the chains of court proceedings, limited only to those claims which the defense had directly challenged in court. As we move to the circuit and appellate court post-conviction process, the scope broadens. Here, allegations might be peppered with claims of ineffective assistance by trial or even appellate counsel. The defense might argue that a legal representative didn't take necessary actions or made critical oversights. When it comes to federal law violations, cases sometimes wind their way to Atlanta, Georgia, home of the federal 11th Circuit Court. Here, defendants often seek redress for violations of rights enshrined in the Constitution, such as the revered 6th Amendment, guarding the right to effective legal representation. As we dissect Pedro Bravo's journey, it's essential to remember: every appeal, every document, and every argument represents not just legal procedures, but also the hopes, despair, and resilience of individuals seeking justice. This path was often long and winding, and for Pedro Bravo, this path was filled with legal obstacles and battles fought at multiple judicial tiers. October 7, 2016. A little over 2 years after his sentencing, Bravo's first appeal is finalized with the First District Court of Appeal by his attorney Stephen Bernstein. Here he challenges the legitimacy of his trial, from the denial of his motion for a new trial and a motion to suppress to the overruling of a defense objection regarding a Verizon witness. Despite presenting these claims, the court affirmed the original decisions, ruling that Bravo's concerns didn't meet the legal standard. Fast forward to the end of 2017. Representing himself, Bravo attempts to challenge the legality of his life sentence. His claim? Being sentenced to life imprisonment at the young age of 18 was an infringement of the 8th Amendment, which protects against cruel and unusual punishment. Yet, despite legal precedent in other states, this appeal met the same fate. Florida precedent didn't recognize his sentence as a violation. In October of 2018, Bravo once again takes legal action into his own hands. He files a petition for writ of habeas corpus, pointing out a potential oversight by his appellate counsel. But by May 15, 2019, all his pleas for a rehearing a written opinion, or an en banc hearing were denied. The following years were marked by persistence. From December 2018 to 2021, attorneys Michael Ufferman and Edward Iturralde championed his cause. Bravo's appeal centres around the alleged inefficiencies of his trial counsel. 13 distinct claims, all rejected by the lower court judge, interestingly, the same one presiding over his trial years ago. 2022 sees Bravo on a national stage. His case reaches the federal courts, but by mid-2023, the United States Circuit Court for the 11th Circuit denies his appeal, this time not even on the merits, but on mere procedural grounds. Yet, hope springs eternal. In February 2023, a new motion emerges from Bravo's corner, a motion for post-conviction relief for newly discovered evidence. As we speak, this appeal awaits its day in court. A young boy, now a man, a legal labyrinth, 11 years of relentless pursuit. The question remains, where does justice truly lie? The annals of justice are filled with tales of verdicts delivered and sentences served. But within this solemn tapestry, there's a common thread, newly discovered evidence, which has the power to unravel entire narratives, and has done so for years for countless wrongfully convicted defendants across the United States. But what does newly discovered evidence signify in the eyes of the law? It's not just about new clues or leads. According to the benchmark case of Jones v. State, 2 stringent conditions must be met. Firstly, this evidence should have been undiscoverable at the time of trial despite best efforts. And second, if introduced, it must bear the weighty potential of changing the outcome, possibly tilting the scale towards an acquittal. It's not a matter of simply adding a puzzle piece, it's about revealing an entirely different picture, casting doubt on what was once considered irrefutable. For Pedro Bravo's case, the digital age played its part. In late 2022, spurred by a family friend's determined efforts, the internet became abuzz with Bravo's story. Platforms like Facebook and YouTube served as conduits, and soon, an email pierced through the noise. An unexpected revelation. An eyewitness, previously overshadowed by time and circumstance, claimed to have seen a confrontation between Bravo and Christian Aguilar on the day in question. By January 2023, this digital whisper transformed into tangible evidence, a notarized affidavit. The revelation was significant, changing the defense case and giving credence to the argument of the defendant's innocence. One thing was undeniable. Pedro Bravo's story had taken a dramatic twist, and the search for truth had entered uncharted waters. In the world of law, the voice of an eyewitness can resonate with unmatched clarity. Such testimonies have long been both the cornerstone of convictions and the key to the truth for the wrongly accused. In the unfolding tale of Pedro Bravo, this new revelation, this unseen witness from the shadows of time, has cast the established narrative into turmoil. The detailed account now unveils a different end to the confrontation between Bravo and Christian Aguilar, one that aligns all along with the testimony of the defense years ago. This unearthed perspective syncs harmoniously with Bravo's own words, painting a picture not of a cold-blooded murderer, but possibly a man wronged by circumstances. Experts believe that this new piece of the puzzle, though late in its arrival, holds the power to shatter the conviction. It introduces that ever-crucial element, reasonable doubt, the source having been unknown to the defense counsel, the defendant, for years, now making sense within the circumstantial evidence of the case. The way forward: the defense waits for an evidentiary hearing and then a new trial, anchored by this potent testimony and whatever other evidence and arguments they obtain to support. Should the courts find merit, Pedro Bravo might once again stand in a court, hoping for a verdict that echoes his proclaimed innocence. Outside the courtroom, the public remains engrossed. With so much media attention, many are now revisiting old beliefs, while others remain steadfast. Yet amid this cacophony of opinions, one thing remains certain: justice, in its truest form, must prevail. Our journey into the labyrinth of Pedro Bravo's trial has unveiled profound revelations. Central to this narrative is the voice of an eyewitness, emerging from the shadows, casting doubt on what was once perceived as an open and shut case. But was it really just made to seem that way in order to close a high-profile case sooner than later? This circumstantial evidence case was just that, circumstantial. This newfound testimony might just hold the power to pivot the course of justice, offering a starkly different ending to the story of that fateful confrontation between Bravo and Aguilar. But as with all tales of law and justice, there are always two sides. In our next chapter, we'll dive deep into the theories laid out by both the prosecution and defense, At the heart of their arguments, the enigmatic realm of circumstantial evidence. Join us as we decipher the subtle cues and clues that frame the narrative. The difference between direct evidence and circumstantial evidence might be the key to understanding the complexities of this case. But before we embark on this next exploration, we invite you, our viewers, to lend your voice. Share your insights, pose your questions, and engage in the dialogue. The quest for truth is a collective endeavor,